we started at the Jamaica Society for the Blind. Incidentally, I served as their chairman also for a number of years. The Jamaica Society for the Blind has started its eye care program and has opened a clinic. And increasingly, we're finding that people are coming to the clinic simply because our cost is better than the public cost. So they want to take hold of the opportunity to get their eyes tested and get their glasses and all this sort of thing at, a much more reasonable rate than they would outside. And the other good thing is that Lions have partnered with us. You know the history of Lions clubs, that initially it started out as based on Helen Keller's charge in 1927. Helen Keller charged Lions to become Knights of the Blind. Now, Knights of the Blind in those days, under institutional care, the rehab model then was institutional care, was good because then the Lions were protectors. But now I'm trying to get them to change that and to say to the community that, look, we are partners with the blind. So we don't need protectors. We need partners. So you can't, if you're going to do something for me, at least you need to sit down and consult with me to find out how I want it done. And then together we will do it. So that is the concept that I am trying to introduce. Incidentally, I'm a Lion. I have been a Lion now for over 40 years.
And me as well. I joined Lionism at 18.
Yes. And you see, it's good to be a Lion or good to be in the service organization. You know why? You can only influence an organization if you're inside.
Right.
And I keep telling the people in Jamaica, you need to get involved in these agencies. I don't care which one you choose, but you need to get involved because if you're not inside, you can't influence it.
Right. Definitely.
So that is how things are. Another interesting thing for me is that I participated in a service organization which existed for quite some time called Partners of the Americas. Now, I don't know if you know much about Partners of the Americas, but it was an initiative started by John Kennedy, President Kennedy, where he twinned parts of United States with countries of the Caribbean and Latin America. So, for example, Jamaica was twinned to Buffalo. But of course, that had advantages for Buffalo because, Buffalo is bitterly cold in the winter.
Yeah.
So in the winter, they had an opportunity to come down to Jamaica and engage in service projects. Now, right. Jamaicans would never, ever go to Buffalo in the winter, right? So in the summer, the Jamaicans went up and took advantage of training opportunities that existed. And I served as a member of Partners of the Americas with a Jamaican organization. And eventually, I got a Partners Fellow, because at that time a fellowship was running, which took us throughout the Caribbean and Latin America and Brazil and parts of US to study international human relations and cultural exchanges and all that. It's a 2-year fellowship. So that was also a very good training experience for me. And I had an opportunity to look at various agencies working in the disability field, and so that, to me, those were some of the great experiences.
Without doubt. We are in our final 10 minutes. Really good, really amazing. All right, so basically, how are you, you've told me a lot of things that you've done in the past. Wonderful. How are you spending your time now?
I do a lot of reading, and I like to write. And of course, the podcast consumes a lot of my time. My podcast is really not professionally done, I will admit. I didn't know anything about sound editing until I started this podcast. And then I decided, in order to save some pennies, why not do your own editing? So I sat down and I learned Gold Wave. And I made mistakes along the way. But I have some friends, 2 friends who are blind. One is Patrick Lafayette. I don't know if you've heard of Patrick. Patrick runs his own radio station on the internet called Chris Mix Radio.
Oh,
well
really?
Organized. Yeah, well-organized station.
Oh, okay.
Well-organized station. And he used to work in Jamaican radio. He worked for a number of years with Radio Jamaica. And he worked with 2 other stations. So he has a wealth of experience. So when I have a problem, I just call him up. He's now living in Miami. But I call him up on the WhatsApp and we chat and he tells me what to do. And I have 2 good friends in Jamaica who are also into sound editing. Those 2 work with Diva to edit her program. She contracts out her editing. So I am relying strictly on content.
Right. And by the way, you said something interesting. You said that you felt that your podcast, Mr. Williams, was not edited very well and was perhaps not as good as you would like. Well, I will tell you my opinion of your podcast. It's excellent. I think it's perfect. I think it's fine. I also think it's important as a podcaster not to worry too much about the editing. I'm not terribly concerned with it. Because it's more important that you focus on improving on what you say and having better and better and better interviews and better conversations each time. And that alone is something that I have to practice, muting my microphone, letting you talk for a while and then going and figuring out over time that eventually a guest will slow down and I can get back in. But that takes, it's, for you at home, who perhaps are not podcasters, you might think, oh, well, you just listen for the guests to slow down. Well, it's more to it than that. It's a little tricky. You have to listen very carefully. You have to listen for the
you have to know when to interject.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
It's very tricky.
I am not perfect at it, and I try to work on it.
Me neither.
It's hard. It's hard to tell. And you know what? You just have to go with the flow. If I've interrupted at the wrong time, and I just say, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Or you just have to say something like that.
It will happen.
And it's impossible. It's impossible mainly because we are not seeing each other. It's impossible to get that right perfectly. But I always try to now give guests a good story to tell. Some of my well, oh boy, have you played my episode today?
Not yet.
Okay. Well,
I'm done with
strap in. Maybe you should listen to it in the morning. The topic is a bit out of this world. Perhaps that age-old question about, I'm giving you a bit of a spoiler, about something about what happens when I die. So it's not to be maybe if you crack open a Red Stripe and have some peanuts or something, it would go good. But maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe you should wait until the morning when you're feeling a little bit better, because it's fascinating, it's beautiful, but then it's like, whew, that was a big meal to eat. That was a big pill to swallow. And it was. And guests who have come on, who have talked and told these beautiful stories. Even the adorable little thing about that young Swiss lady helping you out. I mean, that's so Swiss. That's Germans and Swiss. They have the reputation of being all mean.
Oh, they're very helpful. Yes.
Mean and unfriendly, but I think it's completely undeserved. And I think that Germans, well, along with
we stereotype too quickly.
Yeah, we do. And along with people from the Caribbean who are mostly incredibly kind, also very, very, very kind people, are Germans, Austrians, and Swiss. I would have a conversation with anyone from those. They're going to be so kind. And yes, are they a little bit more firmer, a little bit awkwardly stern at times? Yes, but they are also incredibly kind people.
But
far kinder than an American. And yes, go ahead, 4 minutes.
As a blind person,
sure.
I don't know if you have had the situation where you walk up to something like a plant, and you're standing beside it, and you think it's a person, and you're waiting for the bus, but you're actually standing next to a plant, but you're not touching it, but you feel the presence of something beside you. And you say to this plant, can you tell me when the next bus is coming? And the plant might not respond. Well, the plant won't respond.
It might. I have to disappoint. It might not. I have never. So I mean, I have glaucoma. It's a bit of a long. Well, if you go back into my archive on Aaron's opinion. If you scroll all the way down, if you want it later, just ask for it later, and I'm more than happy to send it. When I was talking to Diva, I went into the whole story, how I was born with glaucoma, cataracts in my eyes. My eyes have gone through 7 different corneal transplants. And now I have usable vision. Next question, what do I see? I don't know. But I have usable vision. And yeah, I mean, I have enough vision to tell, sometimes, but I've walked into things awkwardly in front of other people. That is very embarrassing and very frustrating, but that's just life.
But you stand there beside the plant, and buses come and buses go. And then you wonder, why isn't this person responding? And then you reach out with your wide cane and touch. And that's when you find out that really it's not a person.
Right.
And this kind of thing will happen. Or you go to meet a friend, and both of you are in this designated spot, but he's at one end and you are at the other end. And
I've never really met. I've never really met a friend.
For some time.
I've never really met a friend. See, I'm not outside of my podcasting. I'm not very friendly. So I've never met a friend. So I've never had an end of a spot to stand on to have an end. But I am pleased that you have, though. I'm sure that those types of things will happen to me when I get older and start to get out more. The truth of it is, now I don't talk about this on the podcast, so I'll just have to improvise it a little. But because of the health situation this year, my family and I, we've had to stay in this year. We had vacations planned. We were going to go to Europe. We were going to do a lot more this year, but this is just going to have to be a sit at home and get work done and do podcasting year. So,
and the last one I want to share with you.
Sure, you have about a minute.
Is that I remember being in Trinidad, and we were walking with a group of us. Were walking, and one of my friends suddenly disappeared down a ditch.
Oh my goodness!
He was being guided, but he was on the inside, and he fell down the ditch.
No, he wasn't. And maybe he wasn't being guided very well then.
Because his guide couldn't see very well either.
Oh, okay. Well,
and he was totally blind. So when we stopped in a panic, and we reached down and helped him up, when he came up, his first response was, "Thank God down there was dry."
That's ironic. All right. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I think that was a great episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast where we talk about issues from the blindness community, from Jamaica, from all over the world. As I like to say, have a good day today a great day tomorrow.